There is one question in the chat box I'll go ahead and take right now. We are recording it. It generally takes them a couple days to get it up onto the hub, onto the training calendar page. So generally, I think it's what, Tracy, about 2 days?
I think usually she tries to do them by Friday, as she does them all on Fridays usually.
It is the top of the hour. If you just joined us, thank you. I did mention a couple of minutes ago that we typically start around 11:02. We realize a lot of people get their notifications right at the top of the hour, and it takes them a minute or two to jump over into the training. So about 11:02, 11:03, we will get rolling.
No, hold on. Let me mute it.
Give it another 30 seconds or so.
Looks like one of the offices is having a watch party in their conference room.
Yeah, exactly. So the number's actually higher than 77 because we got more
Yes.
people in rooms.
Sergio's in the house.
Well, we're at about 80 people. I think it's time that we begin to rock and roll. So before we do introductions, just a couple things I want to say of how we're going to handle this training. As I mentioned a minute ago, but some of you guys just jumped on, please do us a favor and keep your microphone muted. We've got 84 people plus a room, some of their groups in a room. So, you know, if we have microphones turned on, it can get really distracting really easily. Secondly, in regards to questions, we have a lot of data that we're going to go over, a ton of stuff to cover. So what we're asking is that you hold your questions to the end. And when we get to the end, if you can type them into the chat box, we'll do everything we can to try to handle them in order that they come in. Hopefully, most of your questions will get answered as we go through the training. So if you ask them up front, they may get answered anyway once we get there. This is the first time we've done this one since this is a brand new platform. So bear with us. We hope that we did an awesome job in putting it together. And with that, Tracy, why don't you introduce yourself as I throw the screen up?
Perfect. Well, thank you. So again, for those of you I haven't met, Tracy O'Connor, one of the 3 production sales leaders, along with Ethan Livingston and Dave Barton. I've been here, gosh, for about 14 years now. But this has been an exciting time. We've had so many new fun things to talk about, and I love talking about this kind of stuff. So super excited. We have so many people on the call today.
Awesome. My name is Ethan Livingston. Like Dave and Tracy, I'm a production sales leader here. Do not have the tenure of them yet. I believe I'm creeping on 5 years with the company. And, you know, just really excited to have you guys here today with this platform that we've rolled out. We know it's a big change. There's a lot going on with it. And so we really hope to answer a lot of the questions you guys may already have so we can move forward and be successful with this. So what we're going to be going through today. So we're going to start off with explaining exactly what Customer Intelligence 2.0 is and why we've made the switch. As many of you know, we were using Sales Boomerang for trigger leads, and we've moved that over to Customer Intelligence. Also, we're going to go through what you need to do as a loan officer to get started and make sure that this is working properly, how you're going to use the information that's coming in and how to utilize it within your Total Expert account. Next, what your consumer is going to experience through this, what they're going to see on their end, and then finally go over some of the technical specifics of what's really important to make sure that it's operating and firing properly for you. So with that, Tracy, why don't you go ahead and tell us what Customer Intelligence is?
Well, so a lot of you already knew that we were monitoring your closed loans with Sales Boomerang. And to be honest, Sales Boomerang has been a great partner. We've had a tremendous advantage and taken advantage of those leads that have been coming in through Sales Boomerang. And I think we were one of the most successful companies that they had, actually, as far as our overall ROI and what we were getting out of that, what we were getting. But again, that was just limited to the closed loans. So what we had been hearing from you guys for so long was, well, gosh, I've got all these current ones in my pipeline. It'd be nice to have these watched. Or we'd have new people coming on board going, I've got this database of like 6,000 people. Can you watch these? And unfortunately, it just wasn't, it didn't make sense cost-wise. And then we got approached by Total Expert, which of course is our customer retention management system. And basically, they were saying, hey, we have the same type of thing, which made so much sense to us because it's all about customer retention and we have all of it in one place. So we were very excited because they set it up for us so that then we could also monitor all current listings, leads, as well as all of the ones that you're bringing in if you were coming from somewhere else as well and you want to continue to build your business. So it's a trigger system basically that monitors 4 specific things: mortgage credit inquiry, which we'll get more into the specifics on that, the listing alert based on MLS data, the rate watch. So it's going to kind of watch what is happening with your customers' rates in comparison to where you had them in the data, and then equity watch. And then why did we make the change? I kind of touched base on some of that, but again, we were only monitoring the closed loans. They were completely integrated now into the CRM, so you can track it and communicate with them and track that communication more effectively, and take advantage of some of the bells and whistles we have built into our CRM. And then also more control over the FOC letters, which is fair offer of credit. And Ethan's going to go into that a little bit later. And then we also have more data and information available on your contacts for better marketing. So it'll be obviously continuing to pull that data in from Encompass, but then also what you have put into the system.
Yeah, and before we jump on, because you already said it, but I really want to hammer it home with customer intelligence. The big advantage that we have by making the switch is the amount of opportunities that you guys are now going to have compared to what we had before. The moving from only APM closed loans to your entire database means you're not just looking at past clients, you're looking at possible future clients. To give you guys some number statistics behind that, with Sales Boomerang, we were monitoring a little over 400,000 closed loans. The entirety of our company's database with Total Expert is somewhere over 6 million people. What's being monitored based on what data is available is somewhere around 4 million people. So we are over tenfold in our monitoring capabilities, which is just going to provide you guys a significant amount of more opportunities to close more transactions. So let's jump into how you actually use customer intelligence and what is needed from you guys. So the very first most important thing is you do have to have the proper data in your database in order for the system to monitor them. So for the first 2 leads, the mortgage inquiry and the listing insights, what you need is their first and last name, and then you need a full address. So, their street address, the city, the state, and the zip code. One thing that is important to note, as I've seen in some databases, where particularly if you brought databases over from other places, some databases had a 7-digit zip code because some of them have little dashes for the post office and stuff. If it has that 7 digits, it's not going to read that zip code properly, so it's not going to actually be monitoring. So you need to go through your database, make sure that you have clean, proper data on it. Secondly, for the rate watch and equity watch, we basically need their loan information. So loan amount, close date, the term, and the rate. It obviously won't be able to figure out the equity on the property if it can't figure out what the balance is on their current loan compared to the market value. And obviously it can't do a rate watch if it doesn't know what the rate is on their current loan compared to what's in our system. So very first thing that you need to be doing is going to your Total Expert. There is a way for you to download or export your database from Total Expert. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to look at all of that data in an Excel spreadsheet. We can help you with that if you have questions. We'll give you an email address for that later. But that would be the very first thing you do. Now, how does it work? How does each trigger actually work? With the mortgage credit inquiry, basically we submit every Monday a new list of names that have been added to our database. Really, we're doing a full push of our data, so we'll update the data the credit agency has. Once that data is with the credit agency, it is monitoring essentially 24/7. And when one of your clients or leads or past borrowers ends up doing a mortgage inquiry on their credit, you're going to get a notification of it. We have submitted our inquiry codes to the agency, so it should be suppressing any mortgage inquiry you do. Now, I am going to be full disclosure here. During that first week and a half, there were some issues. Turns out that the credit agency didn't input all of the data properly, so not all of our codes were being suppressed. So some people likely, actually I know for a fact, got some notifications for loans that were our own credit inquiries. Moving forward, as of today, I was told the fix will be in place today at the credit agency, so you won't be getting those misfires. Now, what can happen, in fact, I believe it even happened to Dave Barton on our team who still does loans, is if they are shopping you with someone else, you will get a notification of that. If it's not us doing the poll, you will get a notification of that mortgage inquiry. If this does become a problem long-term, there's a fix we could maybe even do with that. We're still working on that possibility, but I don't think it's a bad thing to know that they're shopping you, because then you can make that phone call, make sure that your relationship's good and everything else. On the listing alert. So, as I mentioned, you need to make sure that you have the addresses in there fully. If you don't, then they're not going to be able to make sure you have properly. First and foremost, if there's two different contact addresses within your database, there's a work address and just the plain address, which is the home address. If you have their work address and the home address, it's not going to know, it's not going to be monitoring properly. Secondly, it does not know if your contact, if it's a lead, is a renter or a homeowner. So if you have a renter and you have their name and their address, it will still be monitoring that address. So if the landlord lists that property, you will get a notification. Again, this is not a bad thing. This means that your lead, your contact, has a high probability of needing to either rent another home or hopefully buy another home. They would still be in need, most likely, of relocating in some way, shape, or form. Again, just know that it doesn't know if your contact's a renter or not. The only way it knows is if it's a past borrower of which you have loan information in your database. And if under the occupancy status, it's owner occupied, it will know it's an owner occupied property. If it is a absentee next associated with that address, it will know that they don't live in that home and it will actually suppress that. Oh, you're on mute, Tracy.
There we
Just
go.
leave yourself unmuted. We like hearing you no matter what.
All right. So moving on to our rate watch. So right now, one of the things is that, of course, Total Expert and the customer intelligence is integrated already with Optimal Blue. So what it's doing is it's watching the average rates essentially for our company. And then when that rate is about 1% lower than what's listed for your borrower, you will be notified. We thought about adjusting it, to where it was a little bit smaller amount, but for now, just because we didn't want to bombard you guys with a huge amount of potential new alerts all at once, we leveled it off to 1%, and then we'll probably adjust that as time goes on, and certainly watching the market, because obviously it's not really the time anyway for something like that. So we're not too worried about on that side of it. And then also when it comes to Equity Watch, which is our next one here, so they are using Black Knight's data in the background for the ABM. So they're running basically kind of a soft ABM in the background, continually checking to kind of see what the value is potentially on that home. And then when there is a 20% equity in there, then you'll actually get a notification on that. And again, we may end up playing with those numbers a little bit later, but right now that's just kind of a starting point for us right now. And so if you haven't already gotten some, you may already be getting some of those soon. And then they use an estimation of the remaining loan balance. It's not going off of the original loan amount. It actually automatically calculates where they should be at basically at this point compared to what the value of the property should be based on the Black Knight data. Now, the next thing is, you guys are probably wondering, okay, so it's got all of this data potentially in there. What if you haven't uploaded your data? Maybe you still have been hanging on to it, or maybe you didn't have all data in there. You just had the contact information. So a couple things. One is you're going to go to the Total Expert page on the hub. So essentially you go to tools and resources, then you go to the APM Edge Tech page, and then you go to the Total Expert page. And then there's going to be an option on there for database resources. When you click on that, it's going to take you to these options here. And so if you notice, there's two different boxes that we have in red. One of them just says contact import template. That's if you just have basic contact information. You're not going to have previous loan information as far as the loan amount and the rate and things like that. So you just have basic contact information. Then if you do have both contact information and loan information, then you can use the second spreadsheet. Now you can also use that second one, the loans and contacts spreadsheet, if you had already put in most of the data and maybe you have some missing data. So you've got that loan information you've been able to gather, or you have other missing information. You can actually, as long as your name and email address are the same, you want to make sure those are accurate. Then it won't create a duplicate. We don't want to have duplicates on there for you. So you want to make sure that the loan information matches up, and then it'll just basically pull whatever was missing out of the contact to place it in there so that it can be monitored. And then as far as the secure way of transmitting that, you guys are also going to go to how to import contacts in a Total Expert. There's a PDF right there on that same page. When you click that open, there's actually a link in there, and Ethan did put it on the presentation here, but it's a secure doc portal. It's just basically a safe way for you guys to be able to transmit that data over to us so we can get that uploaded to Total Expert, but also it really helps us to be able to have all of it housed in one place. So if you ever need to come back to us and say, hey, I sent that over, it hasn't gotten in, we can actually go to one place instead of having it be in somebody's email or sitting on their computer somewhere. We want to make sure we have a centralized place for all of the contact lists and information that you guys are sending.
Okay, so if you want someone to opt, if you want to opt someone out of the service, it is a all or nothing thing, meaning they're either going to be submitted to be monitored for all 4 triggers, assuming all of the data is there, or you can opt them out completely. So if you do have contacts within your system that you don't want to be monitored, all you need to do is go into the contact record itself and go down to groups and click edit. Once you click edit, it's going to bring up that white menu you see in the center of the screen and add them to the customer intelligence exclude group. If you've ever done a training with me on Total Expert, I tell you that Total Expert operates based on the group concept. So groups is a really important thing within the system. And the way that you opt them out is simply adding them to that actual group itself, and that will remove them from any of the monitoring systems. Another way you could do that, if you're not in the contact record itself, if you're just in your contacts in the left-hand side menu where you have the list of everyone, when you click that actions button and you go down, you can go to the set groups. If you click set groups, you can say remove from a group. And as you see on the right-hand side, you would just check mark the customer intelligence exclude and then click submit in the top of that, and it will do the exact same thing. So you have 2 different ways that you can get to that, all depending on where you're at the moment. And then another thing that you guys need to do from a loan officer standpoint is go into your journeys. We have built journeys for these trigger leads. We had these journeys already, but we were using them for Sales Boomerang. A lot of you guys probably weren't aware that when you got a Sales Boomerang lead, Sales Boomerang was communicating to Total Expert and automatically triggering a journey based on that lead. And that's been happening for a number of years since journeys pretty much originally came out. All we did was convert those over to customer intelligence. But what you will need to do is go in and make sure these are activated if you want your clients to be receiving these drips. So on the right-hand side next to each journey, there's a blue button. If it says deactivate, that means that you already have it activated and you're good to go. If the button says activate, you need to click it to turn that journey on. So when an insight occurs, they will automatically begin receiving that drip system. All righty, going into the loan officer experience. Tracy.
Well, so part of that journey that Ethan was talking about is, so a journey, of course, for those of you that don't know, it's like a SMART campaign. So it can be based off of specific actions taking place, and then it could cause next actions and tasks and assignments and emails to go out or text messages. It's amazing what we're able to do to customize the experience instead of it just being a hard and fast notification or email that goes out at certain times. It's based on engagement. So as soon as that alert comes across, you as the loan officer are going to be notified via email. And then we just wanted to have a sample of kind of what that looks like. So this particular one was the listing insight alert. And so this is coming over. So keep an eye out from those that are coming from Total Expert, and you're going to see those listing alerts. And as soon as you see that, you definitely want to go over into Total Expert, and then you're going to go and look at your tasks. So your tasks, it's going to automatically show up as a task for you. And technically it has a script on there, although Ethan and I are not big fans of the way that the script is written. So, obviously you guys have been doing this a long time. You're going to know what to say pretty much. We are actually going to be working on some other really good scripts we think that we'd like to put in here. But for now, the ones that are on here, you could probably just come up with something for yourself. But it's just a reminder to say, hey, give them a call. Don't let this opportunity to go to waste, because time is of the essence on these things, as you know. And so make sure that you go in and see the tasks, and then you can take a look at the actual contact and see exactly the alert and the information, and then just know that they are being triggered for that journey then as well.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, if you've got a big database, these are going to pile up. If you're not clearing out your tasks, you're going to have a lot of them in there. And really, we're going to hammer this a little bit later, but I just want to say it now so it's in your brain. The drip systems are awesome. The emails they get, it's great. Also, you need to call them. You need to text them. This is a lead. There's something occurring within them that makes them more ripe to possibly doing a mortgage. Pick up that phone. That's the point of all of this. Get on that lead and make more money.
Like I was talking about, you can click on that actual contact record, and then you'll see a banner up at the top. If you notice, it's got the red box there and the alert. So that particular one is for a credit inquiry alert. It is possible though, however, to get multiple alerts on one contact, and you may see them kind of build up. And so you can also go into something called insights. So that's the other one on the right. So once you click on insights, it'll actually show you the history of all the different insights and customer intelligence alerts that have happened on it and when.
All right, using focused views. So what we have done to try to make this easy for you to see everyone that you've gotten an insight on within a 7-day window is we created focused views for you. So they're already in your Total Expert account right now. So when you're going to go to focus view on the left-hand side of the menu, and then you can see the big red box we've created here to show you where all of them are. And to see anyone who is a part of that trigger or has got one of those triggers in the last 7 days, you would simply click that little arrow all the way over to the right, and it's going to expand it where you can see the individual person, their phone number, when they received it. It's going to show you on the left-hand side the history, the interaction history, what emails they've received based on all of this. And if you click view full history, we've got it blown up on the right-hand side to where you can see the actual chain of emails that have been sent and opened. And then if you're curious to see what the email itself was, it does give you the ability to click view email to see it. So this is, honestly, it's a real easy, simple thing. When you go to focus view and you go to that specific one and click that little arrow, if you've got 3, if you've got 5, if you've got 7, you'll be able to see them all at one place. So you're not digging around through your database, wondering who has an alert and who doesn't have an alert because you missed the emails, whatever it may be. From a best practices standpoint, one of the things I want to talk about is going in there, creating a schedule that, particularly if you have a really big database, that you're going in there every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, whatever makes sense for your business, but that you schedule out and you're going there on a regular basis to see what new ones you have.
I have a question. So how do, in regards to being able to transfer these out, say we're using a different CRM, like we use Follow Up Boss at our branch, is there a way to export these into
Yes,
Follow Up?
there is. You can click an individual contact and then there's export at the top right. That you can do that easily. And for everyone else, I'm going to ask that you hold all of your questions till we get to the end. We've got about 100 people on here. So if everybody starts asking us questions, it could get pretty clunky and messed up. So yeah, but you can just check mark whoever it is you want to export, and there's an export in the top right. All right, FOC letters. Oh, actually, let me go backwards real quick. We're now going to talk about the consumer, what they're going to see from their end and feel from your CRM. Very first thing we need to talk about is the fair offer of credit letter. So what this is, well, actually, let me jump back. for the mortgage inquiry on their credit report, we are having to track their credit through credit agencies. In order to do that, we are required, it is not a choice, we are required to send them a fair offer of credit at the point of the trigger of that lead. We have no choice in doing that whatsoever. So when somebody has a mortgage inquiry, it is going to instantly trigger for an email to go out to them. If they do not have an email address in your system, it will be sent through traditional snail mail as a hard copy letter. One of the great things about us moving to Total Expert is that we have had the ability to be much more creative and flexible with what we can send as a FOC. In fact, on the email version, if you have your application link up to date within your Total Expert account, there will be an apply now button to where they could click that and get started if they wanted. And it's highly personalized looking that it's coming from you. So if there, as I mentioned, if there's no email address, they're going to get a traditional letter in the mail. I've had a lot of questions on this. There is no opting out of this. If you don't want people to get FOC letters, then you just have to opt out of customer intelligence altogether. I'm going to say it, again, it's not our choice. We honestly probably would prefer to not have to send it. It would save us money, save us time, and make everything a lot smoother. But it's something that we have to do in order to do the credit monitoring in general. When they get a notification or when they trigger an inquiry, any of the inquiries, this is not specific. I'm sorry, I'm talking really fast. I should have said, mentioned that the FOC letter is only for the mortgage inquiry. It is not for the listing alert. It is not for the rate watch, and it's not for the equity watch. None of those three go through a credit agency. So they will not get an FOC for one of those insights, only from the credit itself. So we have also, as I mentioned earlier, built out journeys for each of these insights. When that insight is triggered, they will automatically go onto that journey. If you want to see the journeys, you can click on the name of the journey within your journeys menu and see the mapping of it. Within the mapping, you can go over any of the emails, hover above, and view to see the actual email going out. Pretty much all of the emails for these also have an apply now button. So make sure that your application link is valid and up to date within your account. And now to remove people from a journey. We do realize that not every loan officer wants every single person to get on a journey. For the mortgage inquiry specifically, we have a 2-day delay before the first email goes out now. Originally, we had a 1-day delay. Earlier this week, we pushed that back to a 2-day delay to give you guys a little bit of time. So to remove them from a journey, all you need to do is remove them from that journey group. So in order to do that, there's a couple different ways. The first way is if you're in your contacts menu, you just click the actions button, go down to configure journeys, click that, and then click remove from journey. Once you click that, it's going to give you the choice of what journey you want to remove them from. Or if you're inside your contact record, you go down to groups, click the edit button, and it's going to bring up your edit groups menu and show you what groups they're already in. Simply click that little X next to the journey itself that you don't want, and it will remove them, then click save, and they will no longer be on that journey or receive any emails from that. So got through this a little bit quicker than I thought. We are on the wrap up already. And so there's a few things that we want to make sure that we really talk to you guys about and hammer home. The first one is your email alerts. Please be paying attention to these. Don't just put them aside. You are getting a lead. There is some action that has happened that makes these people prime targets. Pay attention to the emails. Put a system into place as to what you're going to be doing with these. It shouldn't be willy-nilly. When you get a lead, you should have a plan of action to go after them. Secondly, Total Expert. Part of that plan should be going into your focus view to see all of your recent alerts on a regular basis. Go into your tasks and clear those tasks. We know how busy you guys get. That's why those tasks are there, so that you'll always know who you've reached out to and who you haven't. Between what you're doing on working on files and all the people you have to talk through to in a given day, it's hard to remember sometimes every person that you've actually spoken with or reached out to. Utilize those tasks so that you can always be on top of it. And that just takes you to the end of make the call. Your highest ROI will be from making direct contact, not from the emails. Tracy had mentioned earlier that with Sales Boomerang, which is pretty much the same system, but we were doing it at a smaller level. We were told over and over that we had one of the highest rates of return of any of their clients utilizing their system. We know you guys are great at this. now you're going to have even more opportunities to be even greater at it. So let's go out there, make those calls, and get those deals in the door.
So even though, as Ethan was saying earlier, we have now increased our opportunities by tenfold, which is mind-blowing to me. Obviously, if we don't take action on them, those are going to go to waste, and that would be awful. So we wanted to remind you with a few fun quotes here. Opportunities are like sunsets. If you wait too long, you miss them. William Arthur. And then opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. And lastly, nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. So
Can you tell we're really focusing on the word opportunity here?
Yes, exactly. We're like, these are a huge number of increase of opportunities. So we definitely hope you guys take advantage of it.
And just to kind of, jump on the point even more, I mean, one of my big personal motivations for being so invested in that word is in my Total Expert trainings that I do probably anywhere from 3 to 6 a week. I get asked all the time, how can I use Total Expert for more leads? How can I get more business out of this? This is a big one. I was on the phone with, I'm not going to say who, but essentially one of our top producers in the entire company yesterday, looking at their account and how many leads they said were sitting in there. And they're like, oh my gosh, I have so many in here. I can hire someone to be doing this for me. I could have it. This could get to that point, particularly when rates drop. Guys, this is going to be insane. So this is one of the biggest opportunities we've had in quite a long time to help you guys drive business. Sorry, Tracy.
No problem. And we're definitely getting to a point where we've got some questions in here. I know one person was asking specifically if they can put the data directly into Total Expert, and unfortunately, there's not really a way to be able to do that. And so you do have to utilize that process of importing it through that contact and loan information.
You can create a contact directly in Total Expert with a name and address and their personal information. The only thing that you can't input manually is loan information. And the reason for that has to do with our integration to Encompass, because it's doing a full data push. If you're able to go in and manually change loan information, it would create some issues with the data push from Encompass, particularly if there was mismatched data. So that's the biggest reason it has to be done from an upload standpoint for the loan information.
We had someone also asking about how do we confirm for sure that all the triggers, notifications, and alerts and all of the journeys, everything is set up for sure?
So knowing that it's set up basically would be going into your account and making sure that you have the groups in there. If the groups are in there, that means that you are signed up for the service themselves. Beyond that, it's all about your data. It's all about having the correct data in there. We essentially, if you have a Total Expert account, we have our entire enterprise turned on at the moment. So this is working more from an exclusionary standpoint than an inclusionary standpoint, meaning everything is opted in to begin with. And then for people not to receive things or not be a part of it, you then have to purposely exclude from it. So I will tell you that I have run into a couple of people who said, hey, I don't feel like mine's turned on because I'm not getting leads. There can be reasons for it. The number one is data. So I went into someone's database and I saw about 50% of their contacts didn't have an address at all. And then of the 50% that they had, probably 50 to 60% had mistakes in the zip code and other parts of it. So that essentially means that there was a very small amount of people being monitored, which is why there were no actual leads. So that's going to be your number one. If you have specific questions, if you really think that there's a problem, edge support at apmortgage.com. I can end up going and looking into your database and seeing exactly what the issue is.
Also, Bob had said that many times they get notices that the borrowers have listed the property when they actually haven't. So again, that might be a situation where it's, maybe a renter or, have you heard of it happening on any other ones, Ethan?
No, not specific. Mostly it's been things about renters, or they had the business address and the normal address, and like a commercial building went for sale. And so that triggered that their home was being sold, but it wasn't their home address. What I say is if you run across that on the address, the listing stuff specifically, normally I don't say this, so I'm going to say it today because that's very, very specific. Email that directly to me, ethan.livingston@apmortgage.com, for that stuff specifically on the listing. And so that way I can look in the database and look at the specific scenario. If I can't figure it out from looking at it, I have a direct contact within Total Expert specifically for customer intelligence that we can find out why that got triggered.
Because it's tied in specifically to the MLS. The only other thing I
Yeah.
can think of, I think that we run into is that, let's say it's a condo or townhome situation where there's a unit number and maybe it's somebody else that is there at that specific address, but not
Yeah.
not their same unit.
Yeah,
number.
there are some, that's a good point. So there are some MLSs that the way they enter their data and that data gets transmitted can be a little bit wonky, particularly some of the smaller ones. And to your point specifically, unit numbers can cause some problems sometimes with some of the MLSs. That may do a misfire if someone in the complex listed and there's no list of unit numbers in that MLS. Which does actually happen. We are in 49 licensed in 49 states. We have offices in, I can't even remember how many dozens of states now. And there's all those counties. So there's going to be a few that there can be issues with.
Bob,
And again,
also-
even if you get an erroneous one, I would remove them from the journey, but better to get the data than not get the data and still have those opportunities.
Right. Also, Bob had said that he had seen letters before with $100,000 for the approval, and they hadn't even, gotten approved yet at this point. Now, first of all, obviously with the new FOC, you don't have to have the 100,000 on there, but he's wondering if they can basically kind of get rid of that pre-approval part, but we can't get rid of even that verbiage. We have to have the pre-approval verbiage, correct?
Yeah. So one of the good things of the change was we were able to get rid of the dollar amount with this FOC. The company we're working with is a lot more flexible on that. However, the pre-approved verbiage is pretty much what's required on it for a number of different reasons. And it's also what's been on the letter from the get-go for many, many years. You guys just never actually saw copies of the letter unless somebody sent it to you. It's the actual legal definition of pre-approved is very loose. It's a very fuzzy term, and it is what we are required to put into an FOC letter. We're really hamstrung on what we're allowed to put in there, and there's just a lot of requirements and ramifications from it. We've had that discussion internally many times trying to figure out a way to get rid of it.
Yes, and some of the more specific questions that are around very specific issues that you had on borrowers popping up are definitely email Edge support at AP Mortgage on those specific ones. I'm going to make sure that we address things that are more general that are going to apply to everybody on this Q&A session. Let's see, speaking of which, I'm going to look on here and just make sure and see if there's any other ones. I know.
Yeah, great point. So if you have questions on the system itself in general of how the system actually works or how you interact with it. That's what we would do here with 100 people. We won't be able to go through every instance of something with a client on all the databases. Edge support AP Mortgage. I know I'm going to be in Edge support capacity tickets today for most of the day. Once we get out of here, we will answer your questions individually on those individual contacts that way.
Yeah, and then we had another one ask, each day would these new leads be updated automatically each day to Total Expert? So obviously the mortgage credit inquiries, that data and everything is pushed over weekly. Is all the other information transmitting and uploading daily?
Everything except for the equity. So the equity is checking on a routine, regular basis, monthly or bi-monthly, something along those lines. But the rate watch is tracking. It's in our Optimal Blue account, tracking our going rate every day, our average going rate every day. So that's a daily thing. The mortgage equity, as I mentioned earlier, they submit new names every Monday, but the tracking itself is continuous. So that's going on all the time. And then with the listing, that's just a feed, an open feed from the different MLSs. So it's just sitting and waiting for an address to come through those feeds and match what's in our database. And then that will trigger the lead. It's not looking on a once a day basis or a once a week basis. It's basically an open API.
Right. And then just so everyone knows, again, this is being recorded. There was someone that had asked about that, and that should hopefully be uploaded by Friday. I think we have addressed pretty much all of the questions on here that are more generic. So some of the other ones that are more specific, definitely email us and we will get into it and kind of dig in and see what's going on some specifics at edgesupport@apmortgage.com. Last chance for other questions in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on it here. Hopefully you guys are as excited as we are. I don't see any other new questions.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll be expecting to see some in capacity later. And outside of that, what if the LOs share the same contact?
Just know that, yeah.
If there's a mortgage inquiry, we knew that was going to happen, and it's definitely going to happen. I know people in the same office that have the same, leads and contacts and things of that nature. You're both going to get the inquiry, the insight. And so you're both going to know that it's happening.
Ready, set, go.
That is, yeah, pretty much. I mean, the other option is we just don't monitor your leads at all. Your non-past clients. So, anytime you expand out, there's always going to be positives and negatives to it. The positive is there's a lot more opportunities that are going to come to you. The negative is, yeah, I mean, I imagine there's people in different offices, but the same area that have the same people in their database. We have no way of knowing who that client really belongs to or who that lead really belongs to. So the system's going to give you both notifications.
You guys, as you're getting into this, absolutely bring us your feedback, your suggestions, your questions about, gosh, could it maybe do this at some point? Because we take all of that, and leadership really takes it very seriously, which is how we even got here to begin with. People were saying, we want to be able to watch our current leads. We want to watch all of our past ones that we're bringing over, and have had different suggestions about and concerns about the FOC previously. So we take all of that into consideration. This was a huge decision by APM leadership, and they really focused on what you guys have been sharing on your feedback with the experience with Sales Boomerang. There were a lot of positives, but there were a lot of things we were missing and a lot of opportunities we were missing. So we took all of that feedback and found this. And we want to see how things go with this, but definitely bring us your feedback, your suggestions. We want to make it even better and just make sure it's really working for you guys, and make sure that those experiences are what we all hope that they should be for you guys and for our customers.
Yeah, it's a great point. This is something, particularly over the last 8 months, has actually been asked for by a lot of people, particularly as new divisions. People have been coming over from other companies. I can tell you, as the person who does most of the trainings for Total Expert and previously Sales Boomerang, it was a question I got a whole lot of, hey, I'm new to APM and you guys are only monitoring closed loans. How can we monitor more people? So leadership listened. We were paying attention. I know everyone on our team, the PSLs, we always tell people, as Tracy did, we love your feedback. That's how we know how we can service you guys better and how we can make, help you guys do what you do at a higher level. And this was one of the things I probably heard more than anything else is, how can we monitor more leads? And with the market being what it is, realistically, we had to find a way that we could do it that wasn't going to be a burden to the branch or to the company. You guys need business right now, but not a lot of people have the extra money in their P&L to go spend a ton of money. So this is a way that we can monitor essentially as much as you want us to monitor within your database. And it's not going to break the bank.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And definitely we will see you soon on another training or on the emails. And thanks to everyone that made some comments and appreciated. We put this together. And again, we're probably going to be doing some more of these at some point, but we appreciate you being on here and all the questions.
Thanks, guys. Talk to everybody soon.
Bye, everyone.